Welcome to the very first episode of Thoughts from the Crawlspace, where we're going to tackle a variety of topics related to home ownership, home buying, real estate leads, just anything that interests you that we can help with in the real estate, home buying, home ownership world. We have over 20 years of experience in this field now. We've learned a few things along the way. You may ask, where'd you get the name from? Thoughts from the Crawlspace. Well, if you've ever been in a crawl space, and I'm not talking about an attic, above the house for you, those of you in the South that mostly just have that. I'm talking about that area under the house that's normally dark, dirty, nasty, a cacophony of skeletons and spider webs and snake skins, etc., mud. And if you've ever crawled around one of those, your mind starts playing tricks on you. When you're trying to find your way to the back corner, around ductwork, around a pile of raccoon poop, to see if the sill plate under the exterior door is rotted or not, you start wondering about things and you have so many thoughts you don't know where to start. So that's where we're coming from. A lot of things pop in our minds during this time. Now, we're not going to talk about crawl spaces hardly at all because, frankly, that's boring. But we will talk about topics that are going to interest you, help you along the way, help you buy a house, find a house, take care of your house, probably most importantly, and just dive into these topics that can inspire you and give you confidence in home ownership. So today, our very first episode, we're going to kind of tell you our story. So you know our background, where we came from, why we still are doing this after 20 plus years, and a little bit about our team. So 23 years ago, to be precise, I didn't even know home inspectors existed. I was fresh out of college. I graduated in 1994. First of all, I grew up in this general area, in Topeka, Indiana, and small town Indiana, and went out to college in Virginia, and eventually landed on an elementary education degree. And as with many college graduates, you don't end up doing what you go to college for, right? I actually started out in accounting, but after graduation, fortunately, during college, I met my wife, which was really the only benefit to being at college in that field. But I met her and we got into teaching. And I was an elementary school and middle school teacher for 6 years after graduation in 1994. So along about 2001, I just came to the conclusion, I did enjoy this. I wanted to do something I enjoyed. And I felt compelled to stick with teaching just because, well, I went to college for that, right? And you don't want to, quote, waste that education. So after 6 years, though, I finally had enough of it. And just before I would get indicted on and beating up a kid or something like that because I'm smarting off, I decided to do something else. So we moved back to Indiana. My wife was up for an adventure. We had a 16-month-old and a newborn. And we moved back in June of 2001 and started looking for a house. And we found a house a few months later, and an inspector showed up. And I didn't know anything about inspectors. And the real estate agent had invited this inspector or hired this inspector to inspect this house, looking for defects in the roof, in the structural systems, in the HVAC systems, the electrical, etc. And so at this point, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I just started following this guy around. And the more I watched, the more I liked it. I always had an interest growing up in building things. I had an assortment of tree houses and forts and everything else I would build based on whatever materials we had laying around. And so it just naturally interested me. And so, long story short, that September of 2001 is when the Twin Towers got attacked and fell. And that started the RV industry into a tailspin. And I got laid off in December. So here I is, 2 young kids, a house, and a wife, and no job. So I called this inspector up, and he came to my house and trained me twice a week in my basement on the ins and outs of home inspecting, and I was hooked. I loved it, and we went on practice inspections together. And after 10 inspections, he told me, "You're ready. I'm kicking you out of the nest. You're on your own." And for those of you that are experienced inspectors, you know how much you know after you do 10 inspections, which is almost nothing. And so I got into it, but I did not have any of the other aspects of how to run a company, marketing, systems, anything like that you needed to keep going. And so I was unable to keep it going. Meanwhile, I'm still working. I got a job working for a contractor, a friend of mine from high school. We built houses, we remodeled, we did all kinds of things related to the home buying or the home ownership world. And so I had to drag this out too long, but I learned so much in those 3 years about homes. I decided, I'm going to build my own house. So with his blessing, I took off 4 months of work and built my own house, almost every piece of it. And near the end of that, I got a visit from him, and he got a coaching job and said he's going to be coaching in the winters now, and he would not be working full time in the winter. And if I wanted a full-time job, I needed to go find something else to do. So here I am again, new house, 3 kids by this point, and no permanent job. And so I went back to the RV industry at Jayco and got a job working on a saw. And that would have been, I believe, in about 2004. And, my daily schedule was not real glamorous. Well, let me get to that in a minute. But working in an RV factory, getting up at 3:30 in the morning will really make you question everything about your life. At least that's the way I felt. And all during that time, I never gave up this goal of being a home inspector. My very first business, by the way, was called First Choice Home Inspections, which I thought was awesome, catchy. But I only did about 10 inspections probably in a year, so definitely not enough to make a living on. So anyways, here we are, 2004, and I want to restart this. Well, guess what? By now, Indiana had passed a law. You had to be licensed. And so I went through all the training again through the state on the weekends and down in Indianapolis, got my license, got radon certified, got termite certified, and jumped back into it again. So for the next 4 to 5 years, my daily schedule would be get up at 3:30, go to work at 5 o'clock, work till 1:30, get out, change clothes, go out, market to real estate offices, do a home inspection, or I was also coaching at the time. If I didn't have anything else going on, come home, go to bed, repeat the process. So that is not a glamorous schedule. My wife was awesome, took care of everything else, the kids. She was homeschooling. And finally in 2009, I remember it was July of 2009, a particularly low point in life for some personal reasons, that I was considering giving up home inspecting altogether. It just wasn't growing. I had been doing it over 4 years now, and I wanted to be on my own doing it full time, and I just wasn't there, and just wondering what life held for me. And so I kept getting these persistent emails from a guy named Mike Crow, who is a home inspection business coach out of Dallas, Texas, offering to do a free 1-hour phone call on how to rebuild your brochure, your business card, etc. So I took him up on it. It was free after all. And I quickly learned I really didn't know much about home inspecting as far as building a business. And so he offered you had to join the company to get more information, to get the coaching. And it was like $197 a month. And when you're not making any money, that's a lot. But it was one thing or another. It's quit or go home. It's go home or go big. So I faxed in my application. Yes, I faxed the application. It was that long ago. It was late July one night. They have like a midnight deadline to fax this application. So I joined his company, and long story short, we quickly developed some marketing strategies for building the business. And that was in July. By October of that year, I was so busy. I was working at the factory in the morning, and then I was doing the inspections in the afternoon. I was working 16 to 17 hours a day. Started having heart trouble because of all the work. So I had to make a decision. Quit one job, jump into the business, one or the other. And so we made the decision, with the support of my wife, to jump into home inspecting full time and took the plunge into entrepreneurship and leaving the relative safety of the RV industry behind. And so that really got us going in our business. We grew every year. So in February of 2010, this organization, the Millionaire Inspector Community, had a national event in Dallas. And so we attended and was just blown away. It was 4 days of marketing and business growth, motivational speakers. And I'll never forget the first speaker there was there, James Malinchak. He's still a motivational speaker. I think he lives in Las Vegas. And the biggest, I think, benefit from this event was meeting fellow home inspectors around the country that are not your direct competitors. And so they're actually there to help you and grow with you and learn together. And so we met friends that I literally today still have in probably 40 states. And that really propelled us forward, and we just started exploding in growth. My wife quit homeschooling. She became our marketing person. She did the books. She took phone calls. She did all that at once, and I couldn't have done it without her. And so gradually we grew, and my goal was to be up to doing 3 inspections per day as an individual. And in this area of the country, with the way we're spread out, that is a lot of work. And those would be 12 to 14 hour days. And I got to that. And after about a year or so of doing that, I'm thinking, this isn't a whole lot of fun working this much. And so it's time to start hiring. And that's when you really start learning. You learn who to look for when you hire, what traits. The very first inspector I hired, I think I ruined him because our training was so jumbled. We had never done it before. And he ended up quitting after a few months. And later on, when I look back, I don't blame him. I would have quit too. The first one I got that permanently, that lasted for quite a while, I found out quickly he didn't want to work as much as I did, which I couldn't understand. But he was still a great guy, brought a lot of value to our team. And so we started hiring. That was in 2012. And then we peaked in 2018. We had 8 inspectors, plus myself. We had a marketing person. We had a full-time office. And then the wheels kind of fell off. And over the next 6 months, we lost 6 of those inspectors, either fired or they quit for one reason or another. And I was left one April Sunday when I got a call from my manager that he was resigning. And it was just me and 2 other guys left, headed into busy season. And I didn't know where to turn. And so my wife and I got on our knees. We prayed. We gave it to God. And said, look, you've orchestrated these events, allow this to happen, help us to learn from it. And from that point on, we rebranded, we changed our name slightly, we got new logos, we changed all our systems, we got vehicles for every inspector, and we just changed the way we did business. And what looked like a really dark moment turned out to be the best thing that could have happened to our company at that time. And so now here we are in 2024. We've rebuilt. We have a great team. We have that year of 2019. I think it was April of 2019 when the last guy had quit. From there until September, 4 new people just kind of came out of nowhere. And 3 of those are still working for us right now. They're in their 5th year. And we added another one the following February, and he's still here. And so we just have an incredible team of inspectors. We've added, we have someone that takes our calls, someone that kind of runs the office and everything in between. And it's just, they've been here for over 3 years. So we've got team stability, and it's just a great group to work with. So I think I'm really excited about our future. In some ways, we've been doing this on and off really for almost 20 years now. Next year will be the 20th year of Gold Key Inspection Services. And in some ways, I feel like we're just getting started. I have a lot of plans, a lot of goals, a lot of things I'd like to attain, branch out into. And so along that path, we want to help you. We want to help you get answers about your house. You know what? It doesn't even have to be about your house. It can be about building a business. It can be about going after your goals. I think one thing I look back now, I questioned for years, why did it take me so long to build to where I could go on my own? It took me 7 years before I was able to even hire anybody. Why did it take me that long? But I think that struggle early on, you just learn so much. And if that struggle would have happened before, if we got a glut of business before I really knew what I was doing, it could have ruined me. It would have been too much success too fast. And so I think the struggle we had to get on top of the mountain or get up to the plateau at least, it really is. You remember that when things get tough, when business doesn't go well, when things go wrong that discourage you or whatever. But you remember those times of struggle, and you remember how that built you to be where you are right now. And so we're excited. We're going to have great guests. We're going to have in the field type of stuff where you can be entertained as well. We want it to be fun, and we want it to be funny. If you have topics you want to see, email us, goldkey@goldkeyinspect.com, and we'd love your ideas. So thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of our journey, and we look forward to what we can do together.